When Karen Davison gave consent for her daughter to have a transplant made from a donor windpipe and her own stem cells, she said she was told about 2 patients in whom it had been a success. One was 10-year-old Kieran Finn Lynch, whose operation had several differences to Shauna's. A key difference was that he had a stent, a tube inside his windpipe to keep it open, whereas Shauna didn't get one. Her surgeon says he was advised not to place a stent. This was one of the reasons that Kieran survived his operation and Shauna died 2 weeks after hers. Now, Newsnight can reveal the other person Karen Davison heard about was 30-year-old Claudia Castillo from Barcelona, operated on by Italian surgeon Paolo Macchiarini with the help of UCL's Professor Martin Burchill. She had the first ever tissue-engineered stem cell windpipe. This was how her case was written up in the Lancet. The graft immediately provided the recipient with a functional airway, improved her quality of life, and had a normal appearance and mechanical properties at 4 months. But it didn't. Her windpipe collapsed 3 weeks later. She needed stents. Eventually, her lung collapsed and she had to have it surgically removed. Newsnight has learnt that the medical director of Claudia's Barcelona clinic, Professor Anthony Castells, wrote to the Lancet last May to correct the scientific record. But they haven't. Last year, cardiologist and research integrity campaigner Peter Wilmshurst wrote to the Lancet calling for the paper to be retracted. He alleged that attempts to replicate the claims made in Claudia's case report are resulting in further patient deaths in other countries too. The troubling consequence of this is that treatments we know aren't successful are still being cited as major breakthroughs in medicine, influencing research and clinical decisions around the world.
That was Deb Cohen there, and in the interest of transparency, it's worth us saying that Deb has worked for another medical journal, the BMJ. We did ask the Lancet for comment on the story. They declined to give us one, but joining us now is Norman Lamb, former Health Minister, now Chair of Science and Technology Committee. How concerned are you about this, Norman Lamb? The idea that the Lancet's still standing by these articles, has refused to retract them or take them down?
Well, very concerned. I've written myself to the Lancet after we heard from Peter Wilmshurst, and I got a response recently from the Lancet to say that they checked it out with the institution in Barcelona and that they confirmed that everything was in order. But Peter Wilmshurst confirmed to us that 9 months ago they were told something very different. So this is really serious, and I think it in a way highlights a gap in the system that we have in this country, and that's why our committee last year proposed that there should be a national committee responsible for research integrity that people can go to where they have concerns that institutions, medical journals and so forth haven't acted properly, so that those institutions can potentially be held to account.
Because your concern would be that without that sort of centralised body, people could still be turning to these articles, checking, doing their own research in the Lancet and coming away thinking it's all fine. Exactly,
and it can, as in this case, be a question of life or death, and so it is really serious. I'm not in a position to make ultimate judgments, but there was a full investigation which concluded that the original individual who carried out this procedure, Macchiarini, was a fraudster essentially, and recommended that his papers be retracted, and that hasn't happened in full with the Lancet. But I think there also need to be consequences for institutions that fail to act. We've said that this national committee that we propose should be set up should be able to recommend to the research institutions that there should be funding consequences for those institutions that fail to properly investigate alleged misconduct.
Are you suggesting, in essence, that the Lancet is being unethical in refusing to retract this work? I mean, do you see any plausible reason why they wouldn't?
At the moment, I simply don't understand their response. Peter Wilmshurst has been very clear with us that they were informed 9 months ago, and I think I will be writing back to the Lancet, and we need clear answers from them to clear this up. But as I say, it highlights a failure where you have both you have funders, you have the employers of the researchers and clinicians, and you have medical journals, and they all have to take this with absolute responsibility to coordinate proper investigations into allegations of misconduct.
Norman Lamb, thank you very much.
Thank you.